For those who understand politics, you will know that PDP is now plunged into a large-scale mess. In Enugu today, the governor said NEC meeting will hold. Because the NEC meeting slated for the 30th of June, after they met with INEC and the realization of the fact that you cannot go into NEC without agreeing on who will be the national secretary, who will sign all of the communications between the regulator, which is INEC, the registrar of political parties, and your political party. Now, there's some governors in Enugu saying the NEC meeting will go on as planned. The Damagum and those who met after INEC meeting with officials of INEC are saying that that will just be an expanded caucus, and a date for the NEC meeting will then be agreed upon. What a mess. We'll make a sense of it for you tonight to get what exactly is going on with the party. Why should we be concerned about the PDP? You should be concerned because opposition has a strong leg in our democracy. When it's malfunctioning, then there is going to be a problem. Impunity will take over. The aggrandizement and the grandstanding of a ruling party, as often seen in politics and democracies where opposition politics is not really very grounded, will start playing out. God forbid. On one hand, we'll also be bringing my guest tonight. We'll be discussing for us the outcome of the Rivers State politics and governance issues. So earlier in the week, you saw what happened with Mr. Nyesom Wike, Governor Sim Fubara, and some leaders of Rivers State met with President Bola Tinubu, and what looked like the major crisis, almost erupting into a nuclear war between the big political players, now looks like the easiest, perhaps, some of a walk in the park kind of reconciliation. And they say they're working together. All of the sound bites that you need to know in this matter we'll bring into you. But let me introduce my guest to you tonight. He's a political analyst and a social commentator, a columnist and a writer, Mr. Majeed Dahiru. Thanks so much, Mr. Dahiru, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What a day.
What a week.
What a week it's been, actually. What a week it's been. It gets one confused. Those of us who try to put narratives and put issues out to the public and try to analyze and put things in perspective, you get so confused because these things are, I wonder and I pity our viewers because a lot of the time, the things that we can only put out, if you look at the enormous information available to us and how we try to distill and just give them what is necessary. Now, let's begin from Enugu. I think that's the place we should be. Are you surprised by the position of Governor Seyi Makinde? Some people say we are not surprised because Governor Seyi Makinde has made it known and clear. Governor Umba, are you surprised by his own position? Because he's not the one who speaks a lot. But they are speaking, and there are the likes of Adolfo Boabara was in that meeting in Enugu today. What do you make of it?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm surprised because Ude Okoye demand that the Southeast
contention now.
The South Coast is trying to replace Samuel Anyanwu with comes from Enugu State and is being supported by the governor of Enugu, and they also enjoy the support of Adolfo Boabara, who is the chairman of the BOT. But you see, what is happening in the PDP is just a symptom of an ailment, very deep-seated ailment within the party. Like I've said somewhere else, the PDP is like a sick man, a very sick man that is suffering from multiple organ failure. So by the time you try to manage one part of the body, another part is falling off. So you discover that this is simply symptoms of an advanced case of multiple organ failure that might not be salvaged anytime soon. And for people like us that have predicted that the PDP might actually die for committing a mortal sin of violating zoning, this looks like the end stage of multiple organ failure for the party. So the party is in disarray. It's about a year to primary elections. Nobody is sure of who the secretary of the party is. And no right-thinking politician, no serious-minded politician will stake their ambition on such a party. Because what it has become now is that either way it goes, if Anyanwu remains, there are people that will contest his position in courts, beginning on the High Court up onto the Supreme Court again. If he's forced out, if those are trying to force him out succeed in forcing him out, the same thing will happen. So at the end of the day, the PDP is in a very deep crisis arising from multiple organ failure. And what makes it worse is this. Ordinarily, when the BOT, the NEC, the AWs of a party are malfunctioning, and the party becomes a case of emergency in the ICU, you would expect that the caregivers in this instance will be governors of the party, who are the real powers behind the throne, who are those who are actually the real leaders of the party, those who fund the party, those who sponsor activities of the party, would have been able to come together, close ranks, and find a way out of such problems. We've seen it before, where governors come together to salvage a party that is in crisis. But in the case of the PDP, the caregivers in the ICU for a sick patient appears to be either clueless, incompetent, or rookie caregivers. So the PDP is in a crisis that is almost not redeemable. And that is not good for our democracy.
So the PDP, like you have described it, is an intensive care unit of a hospital. And I mean, it's worse that you're saying that it's not suffering from one organ failure, but multiple organ failure. So imagine heart failure, liver failure,
respiratory collapse, all.
That's what the PDP is
suffering. So it's gasping for breath. It's in ICU.
And does it look like there is a hope for it to come alive?
No, because those are supposed to give it care and nurture it back to life, which is the governance forum of the party, the most powerful unofficial organ of the party, because they are the ones that fund the party, they are the ones that sponsor activities of the party. We've seen in the past the unity among governors of political parties. We've seen it in the past. In the PDP, we saw the unity among the governors between 2015 they left power, and up until 2023. We've seen the unity of the governors of the APC, for instance. They just came back from their meeting in Benin, their 3-day meeting, the Progressive Governors Forum. At least they have a way of managing their differences within, without anybody seeing such level of cracks.
Maybe because they're in power.
No, even when the PDP was not in power between 2015 and 2023, we also saw the PDP Governors Forum coming together to nurture the party back to reckoning by 2019, just 4 years after they lost power. But what we have now is a factionalization of the party, the PDP Governors Forum. In their rank and file is split down the middle.
Perhaps one of the very few times that you will see the PDP Governors Forum being divided. Usually they are always
very cohesive, and so they provide leadership.
Either they are fighting the BOT or they are fighting some other interests of the party, but they are always as a unit.
Exactly.
But this time around,
they are fighting themselves. So they're supposed to be the ones providing care, nurturing this party back to life. But right now they are divided, and the activities are counterproductive, and it's going to extend the death of the party.
Can that kind of party die?
Yeah, because if the party does not have candidates going to the 2027 elections, from top to bottom, it's as good as a dead party.
And that is likely to happen.
Because more people are going to decamp from the party right now into the APC, arising from this uncertainty around who is going to sign their basic communications to both the regulator and to other critical stakeholders that have business to do with elections in Nigeria.
What are you anyway as a politician if you can not run in an election?
Exactly, you cannot have a platform to run. So more of the governors are likely to go, including those that are actually fighting themselves now. They'll end up muddling the waters, and they'll have no choice but to leave the party. Because if they want to contest for second time, they want to contest for that position, they must have to leave the party, because this party is uncertain in terms of its future.
So there are two things right here, and the Supreme Court make it clear. Whenever you have a problem, go back and uphold the party's position.
Yes, the party,
the rules of the party. The rules of the party. Well, so there are those who will say what Anyanwu did and the position of the party. The position of the party, when leaders of the party are saying we want to replace Anyanwu, and by replacing Anyanwu, Ude is going to be our man. The Southeast Caucus, go and produce someone. They produce today. But the fact remains that legally speaking, it does look like Anyanwu is favored by the legality of the matter.
Because if you break it down, according to their own constitution, an elected official of the party is not bound to resign for contesting for another elected position.
They've always done it anyways. So you wonder why is this different?
Yes, well, they've always done it. And so in this instance, the gentleman went to contest and then he lost and he came back to resume in his position. I would have thought that from one elected position to the other should be, seamless. Anyway. But again, it is subject to interpretation. So at a certain level of judicial intervention, it was said to have filed against the law. But the Supreme Court, it gave a ruling that appeared to have validated this position, granted his relief, because he was the one who appealed to the Supreme Court. So his relief was granted, even though it was not in plain language for laymen like us to understand, but the import of the judgment seemed to have validated his position as National Secretary. But this is politics versus the law now. He comes from his zone, the Southeast zone, and the rest of the Southeast zone, knowing the influence of governors, are saying, okay, we want to replace him. So it's a political issue that is going to linger for a long time. So it is now the law versus politics. And ordinarily, there should be a convergence between law and politics for things to go smoothly. Otherwise, it will constitute self-injury to the PDP if stakeholders like this are still battling over the position of the National Secretary when elections are at hand, and when Nigerians are looking forward to have a viable opposition that can bring up alternatives to what the current administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC is actually offering to Nigerians. So you see that the PDP has been a failure in the opposition much more than it was when it wasn't in power.
What do you make of the position of Governor Makinde? You heard him. You heard what Governor Mba also said today. What do you make of it? Is it a way forward? They say next meeting will hold on 30th. And they say Udo Okeye remains as far as they're concerned.
Now the question is this. Let us also look at the recent history of the relationship between the PDP and INEC, for instance. I'm aware that after the Supreme Court judgment, some other person signed the nomination of Anambra gubernatorial candidate to INEC. It was rejected until Samdadi, Senator Anyang, was prevailed upon to actually endorse the nominee from Anambra before the deadline. Meaning that INEC itself appears to have aligned with the secretaryship of Senator Anyang. The thing is, the PDP must find the middle ground. They must come together and resolve this problem. But they have a right. Those who don't want him to be, they also have their political right to oppose him. After all, the national chairman of the APC has just resigned. So sometimes you can put pressure on an official of the party to say, give way for peace to reign. So I don't know how that's going to balance it on a scale of between the law and politics. Senator Anyang has his own supporters. You have seen some of the governors have just seen their throat to say, let us swallow the bitter pill and allow him to run out his course. After all, his tenure ends by sometime around the end of the year, so they can have a convention. But I think what is at stake here is this. For Makinde and no, I think it's the Makinde versus Wike issue now, if you ask me. Not necessarily Mba. And I don't understand what is really the problem. Because these are former allies. They are members of the G5 who opposed Atiku's candidacy and worked for the current president to become president. So for me, they were friends and they appear to be foes now. And what are the issues? Probably somebody feels, maybe Makinde feels that with Senator Anyang as secretary, his influence will linger beyond the expiry date of his tenure, because while he's on that seat, he's going to participate in the processes that will usher in the next NWC and the larger neck. So probably through him, Wike may have influence in holding on to the party. And since Wike has pledged support ahead of every other person for the re-election of the opposing APC, and I'm talking about the incumbent president, maybe they want to recover their party and reposition it to be viral and, strong enough to be able to compete in 2027. That could be a valid argument. But I think the way to go about it is to go into that arena and do that which you think Wike will do to influence the outcome of the convention with Senator Anyang on that seat. And also do the same thing and see whether you can actually upstage him in the party. Because it's about who gets what, when, and how. You are politicians, so you can join forces together and make sure you give him a tough run for his own money within the PDP. So essentially, outdo him in the leadership recruitment process for the next set of NWC and NEC members of the party. It's as simple as that, because what is happening now is that the struggle over secretaryship of the party is going to suffocate the party to death and hasten his death eventually. I have thought the party will eventually die post-2027, but the way they are going about it now,
it might be faster than...
Because they may not have candidates, as simple as that.
Let me take you to Rivers matter. And with also what happened earlier in the week, where President Bola Tinubu met with the Minister of FCT and the suspended governor of Rivers State, Sim Fubara, alongside some of the leaders of the party, with the presence of the members of they are also suspended members of the House of Assembly of Rivers State. But after that meeting, this is the position of Governor Wike. They have agreed to work together.
Finally returned to the state. Agreed to work together with the governor, and the governor also agreed to work together with all of us who are members of the same political family. Yes, just like humans, you have a disagreement, and then you also have a time to also settle your disagreement, and that has been finally concluded today, and we have come to report to Mr. President that is what we have agreed. So for me, everything is over, and enjoy everybody who believe to work with us, to also work together with everybody. That there's no more acrimony, there's nothing to say we are disagreeing. We have all agreed on everything. So thank God. For me, it's a day we have to thank Almighty God.
For me, it's very important that this day has come to be. What we need for the progress of Rivers State is peace. And by the special grace of God this night, with the help of Mr. President and the agreement of the leaders of the states, including our leader, peace has returned in Rivers State. We'll do everything within our power to make sure that we sustain it this time around.
All right, the key word is this time around. Because this is not the first time who were saying this happen. But interesting that very quickly we saw them closing ranks, and they both attended an event in Port Harcourt, I mean, in Rivers State. Look at it.
Today we are gathered. People can see behind me.
In fact, what amused me the most was the fact that not only that we saw, at some point we saw them actually going into the vehicle and got into the same vehicle and rode off from that event in the same vehicle. It was so fast that we were able to close rank. I don't know what President Bola Tinubu told them. I don't know how, because these as reconciling both men, or all the parties involved, seem to have gotten out of hands, and none of the leaders of the party, of the state, are able to reconcile them. But whatever has happened that led to this, do you think the state of emergency helped in a way?
Well, that was the game changer. So the state of emergency that was declared got Fubara to surrender and handed over victory. He considered victory.
In favor of Wike?
To Wike. It's as simple as that. So Wike has triumphed. I mean, it's a rare feat in Nigeria for godfathers to triumph over their godsons that they've restored as governor. I think the only other person who has recorded this feat would be President Tinubu himself, when he also triumphed over Ambode and some other rare cases like that. But this is a classic case of it's like a hat trick in football. Those who have watched football.
Yeah.
So Wike has emerged victorious. He came out, on top, and Fubara has found his level. So that game changer was indeed the declaration of state of emergency. So you'll be willing to wonder. So he took a state of emergency to get Fubara.
Although a lot of people don't agree with the state of emergency.
No, for us, it's unconstitutional, it's illegal. And that is the only thing I take off from all of this. I wish this would have been managed in a better way that will not be seemingly infringing on the constitution of Nigeria. Because I do not think, in my widest imagination, and I do not think, by any stretch of legal opinion too, that a state of emergency will entail the sacking of democratically elected structures of a state. But that is by the way. You see, I've always told everybody who cares to listen that in the struggle, in the fight between Fubara and Wike, there are no heroes and there are no victims. They both of them belong to the same political family. And when you have a fight within the political family, you must not take side between either of the two parties, because You are not there when they transacted this very business that has gone sour and that they are quarreling over. I have people say that about the Rivers people, and that they want to resist confederalism. And I say, no, you're getting it wrong. You can't change the rules in the middle of a game. And I'm sorry to say this to Rivers people. You didn't vote for Fubara. He's not your governor.
Why did he say so?
Because resources were deployed by somebody to get him there. So for every one vote that he paid for in Rivers, means you have traded that vote. It no longer belongs to you. For every political chieftain across the board, traditional ruler that collected money, campaign money, from Wike to install Fubara, means you have already sold your legitimacy. If you want to install a governor of your own, be ready to do what Anambra people did in 2003 and what other people did in 2023. And what was that? When the Godfather's syndrome became choking on Anambra, such that everybody in Iju couldn't pay salary for most of his tenure, Anambra people came together and rejected the party of Godfathers, which was the PDP then, and voted for an emerging party that was called ABGA, and voted for P2B in the process. P2B earned such legitimate votes that when he was even rigged out, he had credible evidence to go to court and he claimed his mandate. And since 2003, or should I say 2005, when the mandate was violated by the court, Anambra has been in the hands of ABGA. They can vote for PDP in another position, but ABGA. And if you look at all the governors of Anambra from P2B,
even Peter Obi left ABGA, went to PDP.
When he wanted to play the role of the Godfather,
PDP lost.
PDP lost. And if you look at Obiadon, it seems to have just disappeared from the scene, knowing that these people have decided that we will not vote for any party that had Godfathers. So Soludo today is running his own show. In Abia, in 2023, after many years of domination of that state by Ojikalu and his proteges, the Abia people decided that we're going to vote outside of this entire system. And they voted for somebody on the party platform. They voted Alasoti. Rivers, if you don't want what Wike is doing, it is now time to end the entire old daily political dynasty in that state, to which both Wike and Fubara belongs. Fubara is not a victim in this. Fubara is a partner in whatever you think is wrong with your River State. So you must now develop the tenacity, the discipline, to look outside of the money bags and now look for an Omoluabi Rivers man that will be his own man and make the necessary sacrifice required to vote in the person as your governor.
This is how I wanted us to conclude the conversation. Do you think that the state of emergency, it was just in place on the 18th of March? Do you think that? Because why is it still relevant?
I'm sure they will leave for 6 months because
it's the first 6 months.
I'm sure they will leave for 6 months for semblance of legality. But ordinarily, I don't think they should waste time any longer before the
president should just call it off.
Before the peace process collapses. Under delay of the state of emergency. So ordinarily, we now know that it was just political. You see, the president is himself.
But the president, and it has been said that if the president had not intervened in that, and there are arguments whether the legitimacy or not of the state of emergency, but if that did not happen, all the processes and all of the pathway for seeing Fubara to have been impeached, it would have happened in it would probably wouldn't be the easiest impeachment ever.
Yeah, because Fubara also went into this fight like a blind.
Would it have been better if he was impeached or he came back into office after 4 months?
For me, it is neither here nor there. For me, impeachment would have been better for our
politically speaking.
Okay, politically speaking, this is better for it, but constitutionally speaking, as a citizen, it would be better if he was impeached in line with the constitution than this constitutional infraction of the crisis of emergency just to give him a soft landing.
Thank you so much. Majeed Dahiru is a political analyst. Thank you so much. A columnist and a writer. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you very much.